I wish to join the Woman's Party at once. This is how Mary Ware Dennett opens her letter to Lucy Burns, a letter that's dated November 17th, 1917, and can be found in the Dennett Papers at the Schlesinger Library. This was a very important moment in the history of the women's suffrage struggle, because in October and November of 1917, the National Woman's Party that Lucy Burns was a member of was protesting the suffrage cause at the gates of the White House. Every day they sent out what they called silent sentinels, women who stood there with suffrage banners with slogans on them that said things like, "How long must women wait for liberty?" They hoped to persuade and, if necessary, embarrass President Wilson into throwing his support behind the federal suffrage amendment that was being considered in Congress. Now, Dennett was a member of NASA. In fact, she was a leader in that organization. She had run their publicity department for years and had churned out pamphlets and newspaper copy in support of the suffrage cause. The NWP and Lucy Burns were promoting a much more militant kind of strategy to try to win suffrage support. In her letter, Dennett illuminates some of the differences between NASA and NWP, differences in strategy for trying to attain women's suffrage. But she goes a step further and says that at this moment in time, those differences need to be put aside. Not only are women imprisoned at Occoquan, they're enduring terrible treatment. They're put to forced labor. Some of them have gone on a hunger strike, including Lucy Burns and Alice Paul. And the women on the hunger strike are being force-fed by the guards. This is an intolerable situation to Dennett. It's also intolerable because these women have been arrested and jailed for exercising their right to free speech. And this is a cause that is as near to Dennett's heart as suffrage itself. Dennett closes her letter to Burns, saying, "I should despise myself if I stayed on the outside." Free speech was a cause that was so important to Dennett, and in fact, in the balance of her career, after suffrage was won, she would become most active in other causes, including the cause of sex education and educating women about their options for birth control and for limiting the size of their families. In fact, Dennett herself in 1928 would be arrested, convicted, and jailed for sending some of her sex education pamphlets through the mails. In other words, for what she would again see as a violation of her right to free speech. My name is Liette Gidlow. I'm the Mellon-Schlesinger Fellow at the Radcliffe Institute at Harvard University, and I'm also an associate professor of history at Wayne State University. Thank you for joining me today in Suffrage School.